A young girl, with little to her name, glanced at the car window to adjust her bra, capturing the attention of a millionaire who, upon seeing her, experienced an instant and profound attraction. As we prepare to dive into the narrative, I'd love to hear from you. Please share in the comments where you're tuning in from. Delight in the tale, everyone. Alice Park dashed through the streets, gripping her wrinkled resume tightly in one hand, her heart pounding like a high-speed race car. She arrived late for the pivotal interview that could change everything. If I miss this interview, I'll have to sell my kidneys. And worse, I don't even know how much a used kidney is worth, she muttered, breathless, stumbling along the way. Yet, there she stood, merely a few paces away from the organization. All she had to do was inhale deeply and present herself as if her life was, in some way, under control. At that moment, her gaze landed on a sleek black car stationed in front of the building, its tinted windows creating an impeccable reflection. Excellent, a top-notch reflection, she whispered, pausing directly in front of the passenger window. With swift motions, she began to adjust her bra beneath her blouse, twisting her body with the grace of an Olympic gymnast. She retrieved her lipstick, applied it with meticulous focus, and then smiled to assess the outcome. And became still. A large, vibrant piece of lettuce was lodged between her teeth. Honestly, she sighed. In a state of sheer panic, she attempted to dislodge the intruder with her finger, her expression reminiscent of a scene straight out of a comedy film. And then it occurred, the gentle whisper of the window descending. Gradually, Alice became motionless, her hands pressed against her mouth, her eyes wide with astonishment. Within the confines of the car, a strikingly attractive man fixed his gaze upon her, his flawless hair and tailored suit complementing an expression that unmistakably conveyed, "I witnessed it all, from beginning to end." "Do you require assistance with that, or would you rather consult a professional?" he inquired, his tone steady, with a hint of amusement. Alice's eyes fluttered open in surprise. Twice, her thoughts urged her to flee, yet her legs remained inexplicably anchored to the earth. She brushed her fingers against her pants, raised her chin, and responded, "Just let me know if you happen to come across my dignity. I believe I misplaced it amidst this embarrassment." The man let out a soft chuckle, a subtle sound that made his eyes glimmer with delight. She felt a deep flush spread across her cheeks. "Initially, it was the window that caught my gaze. So you chose to entice it with lipstick and adjustments to your bra?" "It happened by chance. Typically, I don't find myself readjusting my bra in unfamiliar vehicles. It seems like a situation where reflections are shattered, a mix of greens is involved, and the cosmos is working in opposition to your favor." He leaned his arm against the window frame. "The cosmos has its hand in many matters, yet in this instance, I believe it was merely the lettuce at play." Alice let out an exasperated breath. "I must take my leave now. I have a job interview, a significant one, a transformative one. If you leave even a fraction of the impact in there that you did out here, you might as well start requesting a promotion right now." Before he could utter another syllable, Alice glanced at the clock, gasped, and exclaimed, "I'm late," before sprinting toward the exit. "And you, Mr. Owner of your own vehicle, best of luck with your cinematic visage." He offered a brief salute, conveying that you can handle this, Miss Bra emergency. She vanished into the building, a whirlwind of creased blazer and fractured pride. On the interview floor, she inhaled deeply, striving to regain her composure. The receptionist welcomed her with a friendly smile. "Please proceed, Mississippi Park. Mr. Smith will join you momentarily, is that agreeable?" Naturally, she smiled, her expression still somewhat bewildered. "I have reached a level of emotional stability I never thought possible." She entered the conference room, sleek and entirely made of glass. She sat on the edge of the chair, her heart racing like a drumline in a parade. Suddenly, the door swung open. Alice pivoted with a rehearsed grin and came to a standstill. Nicholas Smith entered the room with an air of undeniable self-assurance, as though he were showcasing his presence on a grand stage. Flawless attire, device in hand, and that familiar playful grin lingering at the edge of his mouth. Alice gasped, struggling to catch her breath. Absolutely. You, she exclaimed, leaping to her feet with such urgency that her chair nearly toppled over. He gazed at her, pretending to be taken aback. Myself. Did you anticipate another arrival? Wait, you're the CEO. So, you're the woman with the lipstick and the lettuce? I wish I could just vanish, Alice whispered, hiding her face. Unwind. I refrain from making judgments. Excessive. He settled into his seat with grace. Feel free to settle in, but if you need to make any other adjustments, just let me know so I'm not caught off guard. This is a dreadful experience. This can't be real. That is the sole rationale. Greetings, Mississippi Park. It's a pleasure to have you here for your interview. There's no need for concern. No matter what actions you take now, they won't be stranger than the events that unfolded outside. Alice settled into the chair. Is it too late to make a daring escape? Nicholas grinned as he perused her resume. It would be wise to shut the window before you attempt that. You appear to be quite formidable. Alice believed that the cosmos possessed a dubious and rather harsh sense of humor. She found herself seated before the most dashing and refined man, who had just become her new superior, following a moment of public humiliation right in front of his vehicle. Nicholas Smith perused her resume with a critical gaze, meticulously dissecting each line for hints of madness. Alice Park holds a degree in business administration, has completed a technical course in marketing, and has gained experience as a financial assistant in 2 different positions. He glanced upward, with no reference to sidewalk acrobatics or impromptu stand-up acts through car windows. Alice offered a tentative smile. I'm currently refining that part of my resume. I considered the idea of taking up street performance as a side endeavor, but it seemed a bit too casual for my taste. Alas, how unfortunate. That alone would have secured your position with me. Nicholas folded his arms, resting against the desk with a casual demeanor. Have you ever had experience with technology before? Indeed, I have. Yesterday, I activated the microwave, and it functioned perfectly. Innovative advancements in technology. He chuckled, a subtle shake of his head accompanying the sound. We're making a promising beginning. Could you share your reasons for wanting to join our team? Alice inhaled deeply. She could transition into a serious interview mode now, but truthfully, there wasn't much remaining to lose. Respect? That had already disappeared on the pavement. Is it because of my skills? Even hailing from a background where no one believes in you, even lacking a prestigious degree or ties to elite gatherings. I put in a lot of effort. I refuse to back down. When an opportunity comes my way, I seize it with purpose. Nicholas' smile dimmed for a brief moment. He regarded Alice in a new light, no longer with a sense of humor, but as if he had uncovered more than he anticipated. That was sincere and uncommon, he remarked. If that's what you would like, I can certainly do that. Alice sat up straighter, confidence radiating from her as she declared, I'm great at it. For instance, I am entirely at ease at this moment, and certainly not contemplating an exit through that window over there. Nicholas released a soft, amused laugh. Alice frowned, expressing her preference for those who are genuine rather than relying on rehearsed responses, while also admitting her inclination to push boundaries. Exploring boundaries. He spun his pen with a casual grace, gazing at her with a mischievous sparkle in his eyes. Imagine if I revealed that there's someone here who has already formed an opinion about you. She arched an eyebrow. I'm curious if that perspective encompasses being awkward, chatty, and somewhat affected by lettuce. What if I revealed that it encompasses elements that are genuine, unexpected, and intriguingly captivating? Alice's heart raced, fluttering with excitement. She attempted to reply, but the words eluded her. Taking a deep breath, she smoothed her hair and remarked, I would argue that individual has dubious taste, yet remarkable judgment. Nicholas beamed brightly now. He gently closed the resume. Mississippi Park, I have a feeling our paths will cross again in the near future. Alice blinked, taken aback. Could you clarify what you mean? Has it come to an end already? I have observed all that was essential to observe. He rose with elegance, and I can confidently say that you've navigated through the most challenging aspect of this interview. Congratulations, you're on board. Which section? Staying true to who you are, even in the face of adversity. Alice gazed at him, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, contemplating whether to burst into laughter, shed tears, or flee before he reconsidered. So, what's the verdict? Thank you, Mr. Smith. Nicholas, simply Nicholas, at this moment. She nodded, a cloud of confusion lingering, as she rose to her feet with deliberate slowness. As she exited the room, the weight of his gaze lingered on her back. Not from a place of judgment, but from a sincere curiosity. As the door clicked shut, Alice pressed her back against the cool hallway wall, inhaling deeply. She brushed her fingers across her face, struggling to comprehend the reality of the moment that had just unfolded. Could this be the most surprising interview ever conducted? Absolutely. Yet, perhaps this is the most significant moment of her existence. The alarm blared at 6 a.m, yet Alice had been awake for 10 minutes prior, gazing at the ceiling of the modest rented room she occupied with the daughter of an elderly woman who conversed with her cat as if he were a person. It was the first day, she mused. And her heart raced with intensity. She stepped into the shower, secured her hair with a slightly askew clip, and slipped into the sole white shirt free of sauce stains. She glided her fingers along the fabric of her dress pants, attempting to ease the pronounced creases that had formed from being tucked away in the drawer for an extended period. She gazed at her reflection in the fractured bathroom mirror. Everything is ready. She reassured herself that her appearance was practical. And now you find yourself employed at a prestigious tech firm. Behold, Alice Park. Nearly an executive. Nearly. As she made her way to the office, she experienced 2 unexpected bumps on the subway and had a half cup of coffee splashed onto her blouse, thanks to a hurried commuter. It's all right, she mused. It's merely coffee. It resonates with my feelings. Upon arriving at the reception desk of New Gen Corp, she was welcomed by a warm assistant who guided her to the department where she would embark on her journey as an administrative assistant for the development team. The floor exuded a contemporary vibe, featuring glass walls, ergonomic seating, and individuals attired as though they were perpetually en route to a significant occasion. Alice entered with deliberate steps, attempting to project an air of confidence. The new badge shimmered elegantly, resting around her neck. Hello, all. My name is Alice. 3 heads pivoted. 2 timid grins. A courteous acknowledgement. Then, one of her colleagues approached, cradling a cup of tea in their hands. Alice Park, is that correct? My name is Emily. Welcome to the wild. Thank you. I sincerely wish to navigate through the challenges of this week. Emily chuckled softly. Given that resume and the entire car window situation, you've already become quite the figure in this place. Alice's eyes grew large with surprise. So soon. How did you manage that? Emily gestured to the side. A witness on the 3rd floor observed everything mirrored in the glass. They mentioned you were applying lipstick, fixing your bra, and, well, you can imagine what followed. The tale circulated among half the staff before lunchtime. Alice let out a deep sigh of frustration. Excellent. It's only the first day, and I've already become part of the office legends. Ah, but you possess a delightful charm. Emily gave a playful wink. Allow me to guide you to your desk. Alice's workspace was nestled between a faux plant and a clattering printer. It wasn't the executive level, but it was her own personal haven. And that sufficed. A short time later, Nicholas Smith strolled down the corridor, clad in an immaculate black blazer, phone pressed to his ear, exuding a determined gait. He halted for a moment upon catching sight of Alice. Be cautious with the coffee. And the lettuce as well. Alice's eyes grew large, and she sputtered on the water she was sipping. Emily almost spluttered her tea everywhere. "Is Miss Lettuce around?" she murmured softly as Nicholas faded from view down the corridor. "Oh, I beg you, not that." However, the moment had passed. The news traveled swiftly, much like a wireless signal. Before lunchtime, a sticky note adorned her desk, featuring the name Miss Lettuce and a whimsical doodle of a bra. "I knew I shouldn't have gotten out of bed today," Alice muttered, letting her head fall onto her desk. "Just take it easy," Emily chuckled. "Eventually, everyone acquires a nickname. You simply operated with greater efficiency." The afternoon was consumed by virtual training sessions and an overwhelming surge of technical details. Alice exerted every effort to stay on track, despite her mind pleading for relief with every fresh spreadsheet that crossed her path. As the day drew to a close, she was diligently completing a report when a calendar notification suddenly appeared. Investor presentation, attendance required, venue, Auditorium B, joined by a park. She perused it repeatedly. "Who scheduled this, Emily? Allow me to verify." Emily navigated her computer with a series of clicks. What? It was none other than Nicholas Smith himself. Alice experienced a churn in her stomach. "Who, me? During a presentation for investors? On my initial day? It seems he believes in your abilities, or perhaps he's hoping to witness a memorable moment from me on stage that could capture attention on LinkedIn." As she made her way to the auditorium, she endeavored to maintain her concentration. Inhale deeply. Act as if she was not on the brink of being cast to the sharks. Nicholas stood patiently at the entrance, anticipation hanging in the air. Alice, always on time. Such occurrences are uncommon in this area. "Hello, so. Are you sure you want me to join you for this presentation? Surprises bring a delightful thrill. You excel at them. Presentations aren't typically my thing. I recline in the rear, savoring cookies. Today, you're exchanging cookies for a prime spot at the front of the stage. Simply keep up. Take note. Feel free to remain silent, unless you choose to speak." Alice inhaled deeply. "All right, but if I faint, I anticipate extra compensation." They entered the auditorium. The room was brimming with executives and investors, each one impeccably attired as though they had just emerged from the pages of a high-end fashion magazine. Nicholas delivered the project with assurance, yet there was a moment of uncomfortable silence following an unforeseen inquiry regarding the reaction of younger audiences to the product. Nicholas glanced over at Alice. "What do you think?" Alice stood still, her body rigid. Every gaze was fixed upon her. Perhaps incorporating humor and relatable scenarios in marketing can demonstrate that technology is accessible not only to experts but also to those who feel like they're hacking just by operating a microwave. A ripple of laughter echoed softly in the room. A nod was given. Someone else remarked, "That's a valid observation." Nicholas offered a faint smile, as if to convey, "I was aware of this all along." As they exited the auditorium, he said, "Well done, you made it through your first day. I managed to pull through, just by a hair. And you even have a moniker. That will linger in my mind for all time. Perhaps it will evolve into your signature style." Alice chuckled, and in that moment, she sensed a genuine connection for the first time that day. Alice Park stirred from her slumber, her mind still wrapped in the fog of dreams. Her body, however, appeared to have already shifted into a state of alert, as if it instinctively recognized that the day ahead would be rife with unexpected twists. She propped herself up in bed, cast a fleeting look at her phone, and released a theatrical sigh. "It's the second day on the job, and I'm still employed. Is this a wondrous occurrence or a simple mistake in documentation?" She rose from her slumber, attended to her dental hygiene, and slipped into her finest dress pants, the ones with the fewest creases, complemented by a beige blouse adorned with slightly askew buttons, yet bursting with character. She donned her last intact pair of heels, secured her hair neatly, and chose a more understated shade of lipstick. Today, there would be no lettuce, no unexpected twists, no calamities, she mused. How about we engage in a fun little activity with those who focus solely on the comments? Drop pizza in the comments. Only those who have journeyed to this point will truly comprehend. Let us return to the narrative at hand. Upon her arrival at Nugent Court, the receptionist greeted her with a warm smile and a swift nod of acknowledgement. Alice offered a clumsy wave and made her way directly to her department. Emily was already present, bent over a spreadsheet and gnawing on a protein bar as if it were mere cardboard. "Did you make it through the initiation, Miss Lettuce?" Emily inquired, her gaze fixed intently on the screen. "Just hanging on, but I'm still here." "Fantastic, as there's a crucial meeting today, and it seems you've been summoned to join, once more." Alice paused in the center of the hallway. "Are you serious? Another presentation, is it?" "Not quite. Today marks an important gathering with investors and strategic partners. The type where all participants feign confidence in their understanding, hoping fervently to avoid being singled out." Alice's eyes grew large with surprise. "And I was chosen. What is the reason behind this?" "Word on the street is that Nicholas appreciated your grounded approach in the recent presentation. He is curious to know if you can replicate it, but this time with greater control and less spontaneity. Before 10 in the morning, I have no idea what composure even looks like. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee, tidy up a bit, and act as if you were always prepared for this moment." Alice attempted to chuckle, yet her stomach was already twisted in turmoil. She made her way to the office kitchen, poured herself a cup of coffee, and headed back to her desk, where an email awaited her attention. Board meeting, 10 a.m. Located on the 25th floor. Attire guidelines, self-assurance. Attire guidelines, self-assurance. She whispered under her breath. Is it possible to rent that on an hourly basis? Just 20 minutes prior to the meeting, Alice slipped away to the bathroom for a last-minute touch-up. She adjusted her hair, inspected her smile. No vegetables were stuck, thank goodness, and I took a deep breath. As she emerged, her heels resonated assertively against the polished floor until a sharp crack reverberated through the corridor. She stood still. Gazed at her right foot. The heel was utterly shattered, not just bent or cracked, but completely broken as if it had been devoured by a feral beast. "Not at this moment," she murmured, one hand resting against the wall, the other pressed to her forehead. She scanned her surroundings, seeking assistance. Silence prevails. The corridor lay silent and devoid of life. She attempted to walk on the edge of her foot, but she resembled a tipsy penguin. Returning to the bathroom. She sifted through her emergency stash, uncovering a hair tie, a coin, and some duct tape. If this actually works, I promise I'll never purchase thrift store heels again. She crouched low, removed the damaged heel, secured it with tape, strengthened it with a hair tie, and hoped it appeared deliberate. The outcome? It appeared as though a child had whimsically covered her shoe in toilet paper. Yet, she still had the ability to walk. 3 minutes behind schedule, Alice entered the elevator and pressed the button for the 25th floor. The doors started to shut. When, much like a scene from a film, a hand suddenly reached out to halt them. Nicholas Smith made his entrance. Charcoal suit, pristine white shirt, a solemn demeanor, a subtle aroma of high-end coffee, and a hint of dry wit. "Ms. Park. Punctuality is key. It seems you've infused your own theatrical touch into the entrance." Alice managed to put on a smile. "Style is paramount, Mr. Smith." He cast a quick look at her shoe, arching an eyebrow in curiosity. "Is that adhesive tape?" "It's about imagination and endurance. Two crucial abilities in a corporate setting." Nicholas let out a soft laugh, shaking his head in amusement. "Clearly, you don't belong to the HR department. Clearly, you hail from a realm beyond our own." The elevator ascended quietly for a brief moment. The atmosphere was strangely buoyant, almost humorous. Upon arriving at their designated floor, Nicholas paused to glance at her before making his exit. Be careful not to lose your footing while performing. Investors typically prefer stability over theatrics. Unless I take my time with it. They stepped into the conference room. Expansive windows stretching from floor to ceiling reveal a breathtaking cityscape, while an elegantly shaped oval table invites conversation. Refreshing sparkling water and delightful sugar-free biscuits complete the scene. Alice positioned herself beside Nicholas, making a conscious effort to conceal the fact that her sock was adhering to the duct tape. The gathering commenced. Statistics, visual representations, forecasts for expansion, dialogues on creativity and objectives. Alice diligently jotted down notes, despite the fact that many of the terms felt utterly unfamiliar to her. At that moment, the opportunity arose to unveil a fresh initiative centered on enhancing user experience. Nicholas faced her. Alice, could you please share your thoughts on the audience perception we talked about? She had no recollection of any such conversation. This was undoubtedly a setup for a spontaneous reaction. She inhaled deeply, rose to her feet, mindful of the sound her Frankenstein shoe might make, and offered a smile. It has become evident that individuals desire a sense of involvement in the journey. They seek simplicity, a natural flow, yet with a personal touch. Something that feels accessible to everyone, not just those who can easily discuss cloud computing. A handful of laughs, a few affirming gestures. We envision a more streamlined interface, utilizing clear language and a design that exudes warmth and approachability. Similar to an application that reassures you everything is okay, encouraging you to take a deep breath and proceed with a click. The investors chuckled. One of them, clad in a beige suit and sporting silver hair, remarked, "At last, someone who understands us." Alice settled back into her seat, her heart pounding with anticipation. Nicholas merely stated, "Excellent." Once the meeting concluded and everyone began to disperse, he approached her. "It's clear you captured everyone's attention, don't you think? I trust it wasn't due to my footwear." "That's true, but primarily because you helped everyone grasp something intricate with such clarity. It's a treasure. The very same force that leads me to pick subpar coffee and even more regrettable footwear." Nicholas gazed at her, lingering just a heartbeat longer than required. His expression carried a gentle quality. "Are you free this evening?" Alice blinked, once, twice, thrice. Could this be an invitation? An expert approach. The leadership team is enjoying an evening meal with several collaborators. I believed it would be beneficial for you to join us. However, do make sure to switch your shoes beforehand. She chuckled softly. Provided I manage to keep my footing on the journey. Of course, just let me know if the menu features unlimited sushi or additional graphs. I will forward the details to you via email. And Alice. She pivoted gracefully. Thank you for today. Truly. Alice made her way to the elevator, her patched-up shoe echoing her anxious heart, which raced as quickly as the tape securing it. She couldn't shake off the worry about what to wear to the upcoming elegant dinner. Alice stood in her room, gazing at her closet as if it were a perplexing puzzle with no right solutions. Black, as it creates a streamlined effect. Unadorned, ensuring it remains inconspicuous. It took a while, as I neglected to shave my legs. She retrieved the sole black dress that still fit without the need for a miracle or someone to work one. She donned a pair of flats that had twirled more than she had at every wedding she'd ever been to and applied her lipstick with the meticulousness of an artist crafting a masterpiece. Her phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. The email contained the details for the dinner. Establishment serving French cuisine. It is 8 o'clock. Attire guidelines. Professional. Additionally, there is a significant point to consider. Kindly refrain from using duct tape. Understood. There is no duct tape available. However, if my shoe disintegrates once more, I'll need to piece it back together with nothing but hope. At the subway station, Alice ascended the escalator with a certain elegance, despite nearly stumbling on 2 occasions. She navigated her way 3 blocks to the restaurant, skillfully avoiding a puddle, an elderly woman pushing a shopping cart, and a skateboarder who almost collided with her. As she gazed upon the restaurant's facade, she found herself holding her breath. It appeared as though it had been lifted directly from a French film. Soft shadows danced around the room, while elegantly dressed patrons strolled in, their coats worth more than her monthly expenses. A poised waiter greeted guests at the entrance, exuding an air of confidence that suggested he had just triumphed in a contest of elegance. "Good evening. How can I assist you today?" he inquired, his accent clearly honed through countless hours of watching documentaries about the Louvre. "Indeed. I am part of Nicholas Smith's group." Alice attempted to project an air of sophistication, yet the backpack slung over her shoulders undermined her efforts. "Is Mr. Smith expecting a visitor?" "Visitor? No, no. Team member. I promise, it's a salaried position. I assure you, my role is solely to accompany him in meetings." The server remained unresponsive. He merely nodded and guided her to a table tucked away in the back. Alice smoothed her dress while walking, careful to avoid stumbling on the soft carpet beneath her feet. And then she caught sight of Nicholas. Isolated. Perched in that spot. Adorned in a meticulously fitted blazer, clutching a glass of wine, exuding an air of sophistication that suggests a penchant for selecting wines solely based on their elegant French nomenclature. "Where is the team?" she inquired, remaining poised as though she had just stumbled into a joke. "They called it off at the last moment. Every single one." "What an extraordinary coincidence, wouldn't you agree?" "Indeed. It's that moment when you stumble and unexpectedly land in the embrace of someone you admire. Completely spontaneous." Nicholas beamed. "Please take a seat, Alice. It's merely a dinner for work purposes." Accompanied by fabric napkins and a server whose gaze seems to evaluate your every move. Alice settled into her seat, making minor adjustments to the chair that appeared to have been crafted by someone entirely unfamiliar with the experience of sitting. Merely a dinner for work. At an establishment where the menu lacks any mention of prices. This always leads to trouble. Take a moment to unwind. If something costs too much, we'll simply act as if it doesn't taste good. The server came back with the menu. "Good evening. May I offer you a beverage?" Alice requested sparkling water accompanied by a touch of dignity. Nicholas burst into laughter. "Is red wine my choice? What about her? Simply plain water. The effervescent variety causes me to hiccup. And shame." The server departed with an impassive demeanor. Alice glanced at the menu, her eyes growing wide with surprise. All of it was in French. All the details were hidden in fine print. All seemed shrouded in mystery. "What is this? Foie gras? Duck liver? What about this confit de canard?" "Once more, it's duck, but this time prepared as confit. Don't inquire about the details." Essentially, the duck meets its demise twice and ultimately serves as both the starter and the main dish. It seems this duck is giving up far more than necessary. They shared a hearty laugh. The server came back. Alice gestured towards the initial dish, its name rolling off her tongue with ease. "I will take this one. The croque monsieur. Ah, a timeless piece. A sandwich from France. It has an elaborate title, yet it's merely bread and cheese. Flawless. I can grasp that." As the meal was presented, they began to eat, striving to uphold a semblance of decorum. Nicholas wielded his fork with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Alice, resembling a shovel more than anything else. "Well, Nicholas? What makes me the one? I'm curious, what prompts you to invite me to these dinners? I'm beginning to sense that I'm part of a social experiment. You stand out. Is that what they call unconventional in the corporate world?" "Absolutely not. It's my courteous way of indicating that you engage in actions like this. He motioned in her direction. It's akin to the clumsiness of letting your napkin slip from your grasp 3 times, all while attempting to discreetly conceal it beneath your foot. Alice felt a warm flush rise to her cheeks. I focus on what works. I utilize my feet as if they were an extension of my arms. It's progress, not awkwardness. And yet, you captivated a room full of investors yesterday. I believed they were about to toss me out the window. They were on the verge of applauding you with great enthusiasm. Perhaps they believed I would burst if they didn't intervene. Or because you engage with them as if they are genuine individuals. And that, indeed, is an element many meetings seem to overlook. Your talent is truly exceptional. Struggling with stammering and masking it with humor. Precisely. Alice chuckled, dabbing at the edges of her lips. What about you? Have you always been this way? Serene, authoritative, elegant, with hair that appears as if it belongs in a high-end haircare commercial? Indeed, without a doubt. I entered this world clad in a blazer, a business plan tucked neatly beneath my arm. Deceiver. You seem like the type who spent countless hours lost in the pages of books during school. I was the student who pointed out the teacher's mistakes. Impressive. I was the one who borrowed from my classmates and still managed to get it wrong. It's incredible how we found ourselves sharing a meal together. The strength lies in connections. Or utter disarray. The server approached, bringing the dessert to the table. A chocolate masterpiece so exquisite that Alice was left speechless for a full 5 seconds. Is this genuine? Or merely for capturing images? Simply apply gentle pressure. If it crumbles, you could end up paying for a Picasso. Alice grasped her spoon with meticulous care. If it falls apart, just call it a seismic shift of feelings. Nicholas chuckled, and she, a touch bashful, returned the smile. The ambience was relaxed and inviting. It feels reminiscent of the comfort found in the company of a longtime companion. A former companion, strikingly attractive, impeccably styled, and affluent. Yet, a companion nonetheless. As they exited the restaurant, the night air felt refreshingly crisp. Alice felt a slight shiver as the breeze brushed against her. Nicholas removed his jacket and extended it graciously. However, she declined with a shake of her head. Thanks, but I might just panic and start sweating if I had to wear that. It's merely a jacket. It won't harm you. However, it is pricier than all my clothes combined, and I have an aversion to costly items. What is the reason? Expensive items tend to be delicate. Similar to stilettos. Like infatuations directed at the superior. Nicholas held her gaze for a moment longer than typical, yet remained silent. He merely offered a smile. Would you like me to arrange a car for you? I'm riding the subway. The truth is on the horizon. I can accompany you to the station. As long as you can overlook the scent of the subway. As long as you allow me to avoid the handrails. They possess a greater amount of DNA than what you would find in a forensic laboratory. They shared a laugh and began to stroll together. The street lay in serene stillness, illuminated by vintage streetlights and the warm glow of storefronts across the sidewalk. As they journeyed, they came across a shop window displaying absurd mannequins. One sported a fur coat paired with shorts. What is this all about? Fashion in a post-apocalyptic world? Alice remarked. It seems the mannequin has engaged in a battle with the changing seasons. They arrived at the subway entrance. Alice paused and faced him. That was lovely. Unusually pleasant. That dinner was the strangest experience I've encountered this year. Do you find yourself staying in often? It's only in the presence of unexpected companions who possess a sharp wit and an uncanny knack for chaos that I truly thrive. So, you have a taste for peril? Only the kind that concludes with a joyful chuckle. Alice descended the initial steps, then paused to glance back. Nicholas? Indeed. Will I be let go if I happen to stumble in the lobby tomorrow? Only if you execute it with flair. Alice descended the stairs with a gentle grace, sensing an unusual shift in the atmosphere around her. It wasn't the breeze. The dinner wasn't the issue. It was the sort of sensation that lifts the heart, making it feel lighter than a well-fed belly. Alice stirred from her slumber ahead of the blaring alarm. And that was always a troubling indication. She buried her face in the pillow, recalling the email from the real estate agency that had arrived the previous night. The email's subject line stated, "Final notice before legal action." She went through it 3 times, yet it still didn't resonate with her. Her bank account was so devoid of funds that the app kept glitching. "All right, Cosmos. I understand. Please cease the testing at this point." She rose, slipped into a fresh pair of jeans and a sleek black blouse, and secured her hair back in the most efficient manner. She filled a travel mug with coffee, a blend of caffeine and determination, and hurried out the door. As she rode the subway to Manhattan, her thoughts drifted far away. As she approached the turnstile, she almost overlooked the need to swipe her card. Upon arriving at the office, she navigated to her desk as if on automatic. Emily greeted her with a bagel in hand, a casual yet warm gesture that spoke volumes. "Greetings, Miss Lettuce. Did you rest well?" "Rest? What is that? What is that?" Emily grinned slyly and gestured toward her computer screen. "There's a meeting scheduled with Nicholas at 10. Alice nodded, contemplating that if he were to let her go, she could at least cut back on her subway expenses. As Alice entered Nicholas's office, she found him sifting through papers while sipping on his black coffee, a choice she believed should be deemed a crime. "Greetings, Alice. Please take a seat. I have something to reveal to you." She settled into her seat, making an effort to mask her unease. "I am all ears. Please take the lead on a unique project. It's an idea that has been paused but holds significant promise." Alice accepted the folder he offered her. She perused the opening lines. She found herself poring over the numbers, graphs, and words, needing to read them twice. "This is intricate." "Indeed, it is. However, your approach is commendable. You are straightforward, imaginative, swift, and unique." Alice gazed at him, her expression one of astonishment. "Who, me? Is that so?" "Indeed, you. However, there's a twist. It will require additional time. It might be necessary for you to work late. Is there additional compensation included?" Nicholas gave a slight nod. "Indeed, it does. Rest assured, you will receive compensation." In that moment, Alice experienced a subtle surge of relief. "I will take care of it." She attempted to mask her relief, yet Nicholas caught on. "Is everything all right?" he inquired. Alice paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. "Essentially, it's just a few personal matters." He casually remarked, "If you require anything, just give me a shout." She acknowledged him with a nod, exited his office, and headed directly to her computer. She dedicated the remainder of the day to her craft, rapidly sketching ideas and composing with such intensity that she nearly ripped the paper. In the meantime, her phone incessantly buzzed with notifications from the real estate office. "Please ensure that your situation is resolved by tomorrow." She perused the text, secured the device, and ventured to fetch a glass of water. Yet her mouth remained parched. As the workday drew to a close, the office stood almost deserted. Emily strolled over, cradling 2 chocolates in her hand. "Are you still around? Exciting new endeavor. Do you intend to rest here?" "I'm giving it some serious thought." Emily set a chocolate on her desk. "Please, just have a bite of this. It assists in maintaining your emotional balance." Alice chuckled softly. "Thank you. You're a true hero." Once Emily departed, Alice resolved to reveal her advancements to Nicholas. She carried the papers to his office, rapped on the door, and entered. I compiled an initial version of my thoughts. It's still in the preliminary phases, but allow me to take a look. Nicholas perused the text with attention, offered a couple of brief remarks, and nodded in acknowledgement. This is truly excellent. Your insight into human nature is a rare gift. Alice managed a smile, yet her thoughts wandered far away. Nicholas observed. Could you share what's happening with me? Alice let out a heavy sigh. Then she simply stated it. I am facing eviction soon. The deadline for my rent payment is tomorrow. However, my earnings fall short. And there you have it. Nicholas appeared unfazed. He casually retrieved a blue folder from his drawer. There is a support program in place for circumstances such as this. It's subtle and short-lived. It's not a handout. It's support for those who are putting in the effort. Alice clutched the folder as if it were an immense burden. I'm uncertain about whether I can embrace this. What's stopping us? Due to the pain it causes. I sense a struggle within me. Embracing assistance is not a sign of defeat. It's simply about carrying a bit less burden in your life. Stillness. She shut the folder with a decisive motion. May I take some time to consider it? Absolutely. However, consider it thoughtfully. That evening, Alice returned home, her feet throbbing and her mind swirling. She opened the folder, perused the contents, and came to the realization that it could take care of her rent and a couple of minor expenses. It was not meant to last forever. Simply a moment to pause. Very well. I'll pause for a moment. The following day, she made her entrance ahead of schedule. With determination, she made her way to Nicholas's office, a folder clutched firmly in her hand. Greetings of the day. Greetings of the day. I contemplated it. And I embrace it. Nicholas gave a slight nod. All will be well. Thanks a lot. It's time to refocus and dive back into your tasks. The deadline is fast approaching. Alice departed with a smile. Her steps seemed to dance with a newfound buoyancy. For the first time that week, a sense of companionship washed over her, dispelling the loneliness she had believed to be her constant companion. On Monday, Alice stepped into the office brimming with inspiration and a subtle sense that perhaps she could make a difference, even if it was merely altering the background color of the presentation slides. She settled into her chair, flipped open her laptop, and inhaled deeply. She chose to organize the project in a manner that would resonate with her understanding. Concise, straightforward, and accompanied by easy-to-understand illustrations. As she typed, a light laugh escaped her lips at the amusing comparisons she conjured up. Utilizing this system should be as straightforward as preparing instant noodles. 3 steps and you're finished, she whispered, jotting down notes. Emily strolled past, clutching a water bottle. Are you having a conversation with yourself already? Only when inspiration strikes. I look forward to seeing you share your insights through lectures. Alice dedicated her day to crafting a unique presentation. More hands-on, less theoretical. She blended straightforward visuals with easygoing, relatable language. She replaced intricate vocabulary with simple analogies. With each passing hour of her efforts, clarity began to unfold. In the afternoon, Nicholas materialized next to her desk. Your concentration is evident. This is merely the initial version. May I take a look? She angled the screen in his direction. Nicholas examined it with great attention, then turned his gaze toward her. This is truly outstanding. Alice smiled, her expression tinged with surprise. I assumed you might consider it overly casual. That's precisely what contributes to its quality. It's straightforward, assertive, and instills assurance. He took a moment to stop. I'd like you to join me in showcasing this at the Technology Fair in Chicago. Alice's eyes fluttered open in surprise. Is it a fair event? In a different state? Indeed, the company will have a booth present at that location. Your proposal has the potential to truly shine. Your approach to explanation is unique, and that's quite uncommon. She paused in silence for a few moments. I haven't had the opportunity to travel for work until now. This will be your initial experience, and we will ensure it goes smoothly. The week passed in a blur. Alice felt a flutter of nerves mixed with a thrill of anticipation. Emily offered her a petite bag and shared a few helpful suggestions. Please refrain from using phrases like, you know, into the microphone, all right? I assure you I will make an effort. On Friday, Alice and Nicholas convened at the airport. The journey through the skies was seamless. They engaged in casual conversation, discussing catchy songs that linger in the mind and the peculiarities of airplane cuisine. She expressed her regret every time she ordered chicken. Whenever I place an order for pasta, I receive an apology. Upon arriving in Chicago, they headed directly to the hotel. The following day, they made their way to the fairgrounds. Alice rehearsed her presentation with the team. Initially, her voice trembled, but she soon found her composure. Her words flowed with clarity, accompanied by straightforward illustrations, and she noticed a number of team members beaming. Nicholas lingered nearby, merely watching. Later, one of the technical leads remarked, "She has a talent for this." People truly grasp her message and genuinely engage with her. Alice feigned indifference, yet within her, excitement bubbled up. That evening, Nicholas extended an invitation for dinner. Just a casual get-together to relax after a productive rehearsal. As long as it's not an upscale eatery, I'm still haunted by that French spot. Agreed. A modest location was discovered close by. They grabbed a quick bite, discussed the event, contemplated potential mishaps, and shared a laugh over it. If I happen to forget a section tomorrow, is it possible for me to improvise? She inquired. Feel free to express yourself, but let's avoid mentioning instant noodles while on stage. Seriously, that's my strongest analogy. We'll hold on to it for our next opportunity. They strolled back to the hotel leisurely. The chill in the air made Alice wrap her arms around herself. I ought to have packed a warmer coat. Care for a taste of what I've got? Absolutely not, or you'll end up cold, and I can't take the blame for that. They arrived at the hotel entrance. Nicholas graciously opened the door for her. Taking a moment to recharge. Indeed, without some rest, I might end up confusing everything come tomorrow. You will excel. If I stumble on stage, I'll act like it was all part of the performance. I'll be prepared to offer my applause. Alice beamed as she entered the elevator. With the doors shutting, she released a quiet sigh. Tomorrow marked the significant occasion. Yet, for the first time, she felt no urge to escape. Alice stirred from her slumber, her heart pounding in her chest. She glanced at her phone. 7 a.m. She envisioned herself on stage, unintentionally conversing in French, while the microphone remained silent. She stirred awake, mid-utterance, croissant of data. She elongated her limbs with a languid grace, rose from her resting place, indulged in a refreshing shower, and paused before the mirror, contemplating as though it held the wisdom she sought. It did not. Thus, she engaged in a conversation with herself instead. Everything will be all right. You honed your skills. And no one here realizes you stumble over your own feet. She descended the stairs for breakfast and discovered Nicholas already at the table, sipping coffee with a notebook resting beside him. She took hold of a loaf of bread and settled into her seat. Did you rest peacefully? He inquired. I envisioned myself as a modern-day sleeping beauty, surrounded by advanced technology. However, accompanied by slides. At least you managed to catch some rest. Somewhat, but I believe I'm prepared. Nicholas beamed with delight. Everything will turn out all right. You will excel. Promise me you won't abandon me up there. Promise, unless the performance falters. Wonderful, I feel incredibly secure now. Eventually, they made their way to the fair. The venue buzzed with activity, yet their presentation took place in a secluded room. Alice reviewed all the details one final time. She quickly glanced over her slides, inhaling deeply. As the moment arrived, Nicholas took the lead in the introduction before gracefully passing it on to her. Alice began with a subtle quiver in her voice, yet quickly discovered her flow. She employed straightforward illustrations, articulated concepts with composure, and the audience chuckled at the appropriate times. She observed a few diligently jotting down notes, while others were in agreement, nodding along. All things appeared to move seamlessly. In the conclusion, they addressed inquiries. An attendee commended the lucidity of her explanation. One individual expressed that they had never grasped the subject as clearly as they did now. Once they exited the room, Nicholas faced her. "You were truly remarkable." Alice beamed with delight. "I did not lose consciousness. That's already a victory. And you actually made a tech guy chuckle. Such a rarity. Did he really laugh? Is that so?" "I believed he was experiencing discomfort in his back." Nicholas let out a soft laugh. "Believe in me. You performed excellently." The remainder of the day was devoted to engaging with individuals at the fair, sharing contact information, and collecting insights. In the afternoon, they returned to the hotel to unwind before joining a portion of the company team for dinner. Alice entered her room, let her bag fall onto a chair, and fell back onto the bed. She picked up her phone and shot a message to Emily detailing how it unfolded. The presentation turned out to be a triumph. "I continue to exist. I did not stumble." Nicholas beamed on 3 occasions. "Could this be a miracle?" Emily responded, "Naturally it's a miracle and a sign. Relish this moment." Once she had taken a moment to recharge, Alice made her way down to the lobby. She discovered Nicholas lingering by the elevator. "Prepared for dinner?" he inquired. "Feeling peckish?" "Indeed." "Feeling socially charged?" "Perhaps." As the doors slid shut, it was just the two of them in the elevator. Quiet enveloped the surroundings swiftly. Not an uneasy silence, but one that transforms the atmosphere. Alice cast her eyes over the figures displayed on the panel. Nicholas held his silence for a moment before finally breaking it. "Today, I feel a deep sense of pride for you. Thanks a lot. Your support made me realize that I was capable of achieving it. It offered no assistance. I merely observed what had always existed." Alice averted her gaze for a brief instant before redirecting her attention to Nicholas. He cast his gaze in her direction as well. They exchanged smiles, yet this time, there was a distinct difference in their expressions. The elevator came to an abrupt halt. Alice's eyes grew large with surprise. "Could it be what I believe it to be?" "Absolutely. It appears to be frozen. Is this a cosmic prank of some sort? Perhaps the cosmos enjoys toying with you." Alice released a tentative chuckle. "What remains now is the darkness descending." The lights dimmed momentarily, only to return with a sudden brightness. "She couldn't believe it," she muttered. Nicholas extended his hand toward the emergency button and activated it with a firm press. A voice responded from the other side, reassuring them that the matter was being addressed. "It seems we're at an impasse," he remarked, resting against the wall. Alice inhaled deeply. "All right, let's stay calm. I simply must act as if this is ordinary. Consider it a moment of tension in a film. So, you're the enigmatic figure in this story. And you're the protagonist who tends to ramble when feeling anxious." "Correct." Her gaze fell upon him. He glanced over his shoulder. "This truly feels like a scene from a film," she remarked. "The only thing left to complete the moment is the kiss. Should we bring this movie to life?" Nicholas inquired. Alice fell quiet, her cheeks flushing a deep crimson. They locked eyes for a brief moment, the silence stretching between them. Nicholas advanced a step nearer. Alice sensed her heart quicken. At that moment, the elevator began to move once more, accompanied by a slight jolt. Naturally, at this moment, she remarked, gazing up at the ceiling. Nicholas chuckled heartily. The cosmos had no desire for the predictable. The elevator arrived at the ground floor. The doors swung wide. They strolled out together, quietly. Yet, both wore smiles. Alice was the one to speak first. "So, are we going to act like nothing occurred? I'm uncertain about the idea of putting on a facade. Let's hold on to that idea until after dinner." Agreed. They departed from the hotel and made their way to the restaurant. The night seemed to glow, as if all had embraced a fresh hue. And deep down, Alice sensed that the almost kiss lingered, its story far from finished. The journey back to New York was serene. But not the unsettling kind of silence. It was the cozy sort. The kind where two individuals share unspoken thoughts, lingering in the air, yet remain hesitant to voice them aloud. Alice peered through the airplane window. The clouds meandered lazily across the sky. Within her thoughts, everything raced. The presentation. The journey. The near kiss in the elevator. Everything was intertwined, swirling together like a film she was still trying to comprehend. Nicholas, seated next to her with headphones in place, feigned interest in a documentary. Yet, from time to time, his eyes would wander in her direction. And she was aware. As the plane touched down and they drove back to the city, Alice made an effort to maintain a cheerful tone in their conversation. "A week is necessary for me to reflect on all that has transpired. If you wish, you may take 2 days off. And forego the opportunity to discover if my nickname remains Miss Lettuce." Nicholas beamed with delight. "It remains right where it is. Such matters are not easily altered." At the entrance of the office building, Alice paused for a moment, contemplating her next move before crossing the threshold. "Should we simply act as if it were an ordinary business trip? If that's your desire, then absolutely. I'm uncertain about that choice, but it seems more convenient at the moment. Then we have an agreement." On Monday, Alice stepped into the office with the ease of someone re-entering a well-known landscape. Yet now, it seemed as though an unseen label hung around her neck, proclaiming, "Under observation." The glances were apparent almost immediately. Individuals murmuring near the water cooler. As she strolled past, her colleagues shared knowing glances filled with amusement. Emily was the one who addressed it head-on. "I possess all knowledge." Alice was already aware. "What do you mean by everything? It seems you and Nicholas found yourselves trapped in the elevator. And that moment was nearly a kiss. That story is circulating around the office with the same enthusiasm as complimentary coffee." Alice's eyes grew large with surprise. "Excuse me? In what way?" "Someone from the trip spotted you both emerging from the elevator, looking quite intriguing. Imagine, beaming. A narrative emerged from the news. The tale became the talk of the office. Yet, there was nothing to be seen. Nothing occurred. Yet, it was a possibility. That adds an extra layer of intrigue." Alice let out a deep breath. "Excellent. Now I find myself at the center of a corporate whisper. At least you have a charming presence as the protagonist." Alice attempted to brush it off. Indeed, she truly did. However, as the week progressed, she became aware of the altered glances her colleagues cast in her direction. It was as though she had advanced to a new stage effortlessly. And that left her feeling uneasy. She wished to be remembered for more than a fleeting moment of potential romance in an elevator. Her desire was to leave a lasting impression through the project. Regarding the presentation. In regard to her efforts. Above all else, she yearned to understand the emotions swirling within her. Nicholas appeared to have changed as well. He maintained a level of professionalism and attentiveness. Yet, a fresh comfort had settled into their exchanges. As they crossed paths in the hallway, their gazes lingered for a fleeting moment longer. Yet, the trip was never a topic of conversation. Or the near kiss. One day, after a lengthy afternoon filled with meetings, Alice found herself taking the elevator by herself. Nicholas entered at the very moment the doors were shutting. They remained in place. In quietude. Alice selected her floor by pressing the button. Nicholas tucked his hands into his pockets. They refrained from meeting each other's gaze, as though the narrow distance separating them served as a truce. "I heard we're on our way to becoming office legends," she said, shattering the quiet. "I heard that as well. So, you're just going to stay silent?" "I prefer to avoid contributing to the speculation. However, if you prefer, I can issue a formal statement." There was no event in the elevator. Agreed. The individuals engaged in the matter. Alice beamed with delight. "I believe that would simply heighten people's curiosity." "Most likely." Once more, silence envelopes the space. The doors swung wide. They emerged side by side. "I need to speak with you later," Nicholas remarked. "Can you provide details regarding the project?" Alice simply nodded in agreement. She returned to her desk, her heart pounding more than she cared to acknowledge. The following morning, Nicholas requested her presence in his office. Alice entered, took a seat, and bided her time. Nicholas shut his laptop and turned his gaze toward her. "To begin with, I would like to express my gratitude. The endeavor proved to be a triumph. The format received the board's approval. The new campaign will incorporate your proposal." "Is that so?" She smiled, taken aback. "That's truly remarkable. It all comes down to you. You succeeded in making it happen. A fresh perspective has been introduced. Moreover, you captured the audience's interest." Alice inhaled deeply. "It's wonderful to hear that. I truly dedicated myself to the task. Moreover," he went on, "concerning all the discussions that have been circulating, I hope it won't have any impact on you or your standing here. It already exists. A small amount. What are your thoughts on that?" She paused to reflect. Gazed upon him. Perplexed. "I never envisioned that. It's surprising how much I find myself concerned with others' opinions. However, I certainly do. I refuse to be merely the elevator girl. You were never that. Is that so? Alice, you are among the brightest and most imaginative individuals to have ever been part of this team. Indeed, that's a statement of fact." She paused, enveloped in silence for a moment. "Thanks a lot. That was something I really needed to hear." Nicholas gave a slight nod. "If you ever feel like sharing your thoughts, I'm here to listen." Alice rose to her feet. "Perhaps someday. At this moment, I must complete a report." "Absolutely." She exited his office, her thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. She had achieved all her desires. Acknowledgement. Outcomes. Honor. Yet the emotions that surged within her as she gazed at Nicholas defied any description. On that very day, Emily approached Alice's desk, her smile brimming with curiosity. "What's the matter? Did he have a conversation with you?" "Indeed, he did. Concerning the endeavor. And the whispers." "So. And nothing at all." All remained unchanged. Emily appeared uncertain. "But is that truly what you desired?" Alice let out a weary breath. "I'm uncertain about my desires. At times, what you truly require is a moment to pause and reflect. Or perhaps a new lift." Alice chuckled softly. "At this moment, I believe I'll opt for the stairs." Alice found herself at a loss, uncertain of what could possibly be more troubling. The invitation to the company's gala event. Or the reality that she had merely 3 days to discover an outfit. An email arrived with the invitation. Featuring graceful script and the term formal emphasized beneath. She perused it thrice to confirm it wasn't junk. With a soft sigh, she made her way to Emily's desk. Have you come across this? What about the gala? Absolutely. And prior to your inquiry, I already possess a dress. Scheduled a visit to the salon. I selected my nail color. Naturally, you did. What about you? Will you be attending? I'm uncertain. The invitation is lovely. However, my bank account is not in the same state. Emily cast her a resolute gaze. You are going. And you have on one of my dresses. However, you have a greater height. And you possess the skill of sewing. You'll find a way to make it happen. 3 days later. Alice found herself in the office bathroom, grappling with the stubborn zipper of Emily's dress. It didn't quite align perfectly. Yet she was capable of movement. She cast her gaze down at her shoes. A modest pair of heels she had reserved for extraordinary moments. The left heel exhibited a questionable slant. Yet, it was everything she possessed. This will be just fine, she reassured herself. Gazing into the reflection. It's merely a gathering. Surrounded by melodies, exquisite cuisine, and individuals earning thrice my income. It's nothing to worry about. Upon her arrival at the venue, it was as if I had walked straight into a cinematic experience. Everywhere, lights illuminated the surroundings. Individuals engaging in conversation, beverages in hand. With gentle instrumental melodies playing softly in the background. She moved with caution. Attempting to appear effortless. And avoid stumbling over her own feet. Alice. She pivoted. Nicholas wore a subtle smile. She remarked while fiddling with the strap of her dress. You appear to be quite ordinary. I mean refined. Yet typical for an individual who consistently embodies grace. Thanks, I suppose. Your appearance has changed. In a positive manner. Alice offered a hesitant smile. The dress belongs to Emily. And my heel could snap at any instant. Then let us proceed at a leisurely pace. They strolled over to a table together. They engaged in conversation with a few colleagues. Chuckled at remarks regarding the fair and the initiative. And attempted to brush off the quiet stares. Throughout the majority of the gathering, Alice remained near Nicholas. However, it's important to maintain a balance. She observed the clusters of executives. The sophisticated former partners of Nicholas. Who appeared as if they had just stepped out of the pages of a glossy publication. And endeavored to maintain a sense of confidence. Emily arrived at a later time. Clutching a beverage and beaming. You're excelling wonderfully. No mess has been made. You haven't stumbled. That is undoubtedly a triumph. There are still 30 minutes remaining. Many things can take a turn for the worse. Take a moment to unwind. Rest assured. Up to this point, all I've heard are wonderful things about you. Alice cast a sidelong glance. Nicholas engaged in conversation with 2 associates. Yet in that instant, he gazed at her. Their gazes intertwined for a fleeting moment. She averted her gaze swiftly. Then inhaled deeply. Shortly thereafter, she sensed an unusual sensation beneath her foot. Her left heel wobbled excessively. She made an effort to maintain her calm demeanor. As she shifted slightly to the side, she heard a sharp crack. Alas! She murmured softly. What is it exactly? Emily inquired. My heel collapsed. It's askew. Are you able to walk? Only if I waddle in a manner reminiscent of a penguin. Join me on this journey. Emily quietly guided her to a secluded spot in the garden beside the hall. There were less individuals present. It brought a sense of tranquility. Remain in this place. I'll check with the event team to see if they have an extra pair of shoes available. Your level of preparedness is truly impressive. Someone must take on that role. As she lingered in anticipation, Alice settled onto a nearby bench, attempting to conceal her damaged footwear and preserve her dignity. It was at that moment that Nicholas emerged. Is everything all right? Approximately. My heel has snapped. Absolutely. Are you seeking assistance in making a getaway? If I depart at this moment, I would prefer to walk without any hindrance. However, I find it hard to believe that could happen. Nicholas took a seat next to her. I believed you were truly radiant in that moment. And then you vanished. Because my shoe let me down. I had no desire to be the center of attention for the evening. I believe you already are. However, in a positive manner. Her gaze fell upon him. Do you really think so? I exist. A stillness enveloped them for a brief moment. The echoes of the celebration seemed far away. Do you recall the moment we first crossed paths? She inquired. Absolutely. How could I possibly forget? I found myself readjusting my bra while catching a glimpse in your car window's reflection. And there was lettuce stuck in your teeth. What was the reason for bringing me on board once more? Your presence is precisely what this company has been searching for. Perhaps that was what I needed as well. She remained silent. Her heart pounded in her chest. Nicholas shifted his gaze in her direction. Alice? Yet, before he had the chance to utter another word, Emily emerged once more, grasping a pair of flats. Task successfully completed. Alice rose to her feet, removed her damaged heels, and eased into the flats with a sense of relief. You rescued me. Without fail. Nicholas observed with a grin as Alice regained her confidence in her stride. Here it is. At last, I can return with a sense of honor. Or sway. Nicholas put forth a suggestion. I'm uncertain if I'm prepared for that. We simply need to reach the heart of the dance floor. We can figure out the rest as we go along. Alice paused for a moment. Very well. However, if I happen to tread on your foot, attribute it to the shattered heel. They strolled to the heart of the room. The tempo of the music had diminished. Nicholas extended his hand. Alice paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. Then seized it. They began to sway gently. Unscripted movements. Two co-workers working together to stay aligned. This is beginning to resemble a scene straight out of a film. She remarked. The only thing left to complete is the conclusion. Alice chuckled softly. However, no words were spoken. She continued to dance, lost in the rhythm. Her heart felt a touch more buoyant. Her eyes fixed intently on his. In that very instant, everything felt whole again. Not the heel. Not her self-assurance. Perhaps. For the very first time. Even her heart felt complete. Next Monday. Alice stepped into the office, sensing an unmistakable shift in the atmosphere. Yet, she found herself uncertain about the specifics. Perhaps it was the way Nicholas gazed at her as they parted that evening. Or the way her mind lingered on the moment they shared that dance. Perhaps. The discomfort was merely a result of spending the entire evening in flats. She endeavored to concentrate on her tasks. She responded to emails, analyzed spreadsheets, and crafted a fresh proposal. Yet, each time Nicholas strolled past, she stood still. The thoughts swirling in her mind became a jumbled mess. He's merely your superior. She whispered softly to herself. A leader who moves gracefully and offers praise effortlessly. However, nonetheless. Simply a leader. By the second day, Emily became aware of her peculiar behavior. It seems like you're steering clear of me, isn't that right? It's not about you. It belongs to me. Could it be Nicholas? Alice contorted her features. What if it is? Was there an event that occurred following the party? Alice paused to reflect before responding. Not quite. Yet, everything seemed overwhelmingly near. Absolutely. Emily offered her a smile that spoke volumes. So you're worried that you actually have feelings for him? Perhaps I already possess that knowledge. Perhaps he has a different perspective on it. What has he been up to since the party? Silence. No message. No note. No comment. As if nothing ever occurred. At times, the absence of sound conveys deeper meanings than we might wish to acknowledge. In the subsequent days, Alice began to distance herself. It wasn't intentional. It served as a protective measure. She ceased to have lunch at the customary hour. She started dispatching reports via email rather than presenting them in person. Whenever she had to speak with Nicholas, she ensured the exchanges were brief and direct. Nicholas was certainly aware. Yet, he remained silent as well. On a rainy Thursday morning, he entered the room where Alice was gathered with the team and delivered a brief presentation to the whole department. He discussed the company's advancements, the upcoming initiatives, and then remarked that none of this would have been possible without a team that embraces simplicity. And without those who perceive what lies beyond the confines of the rules. Alice cast her gaze upon him. His gaze was fixed on her. Choosing individuals who break the conventional mold turned out to be our wisest choice this year. We will continue to pursue this path. All present expressed their admiration. Alice paused for a moment, her mind racing to make sense of it all. Following the meeting, Emily discreetly beckoned her over. That was intended for you. And all eyes were on it. He failed to mention my name. There was no obligation for him to do so. Yet, rather than experiencing a sense of relief, Alice found herself engulfed in deeper confusion. She was uncertain about how to handle such public acknowledgement. It certainly had a pleasant ring to it. Yet, there was a sense of incompleteness lingering. And then, as though the cosmos sought to add another layer of complexity. Later that day, she got an invitation to a conference in a different city. She was chosen to represent the company, lead a panel, and discuss straightforward innovation. The board had given their approval for the invitation. And by Nicholas. Alice entered his office, clutching the printed email tightly in her hands. Were you aware of this? I certainly did. I believe this could be an excellent chance for you. An entire week gone. You will embody not only the company's values but also your own identity. All that you have created in this place. Alice paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. Are you trying to distance yourself from me? Nicholas gazed at her, taken aback. Absolutely not. What leads you to that conclusion? Since the party, we haven't had much of a conversation. Everything feels peculiar. Stillness. I figured you could use some space, he finally said. I had the impression that you had reconsidered your stance on all matters. I never did. I was uncertain about how to proceed without putting any pressure on you. Alice fixed her gaze on the ground beneath her. Perhaps a journey is what I truly require. To contemplate. Nicholas gave a slight nod. If you choose to proceed, we will be here to back you up. She exited his office, her mind brimming with ideas. She devoted the remainder of the day to evading their presence. The following morning, she affirmed the journey. Throughout the week spent away, Alice endeavored to concentrate on the event. She participated in meetings, observed presentations, and executed her panels with success. She garnered acclaim, established connections, and was invited to participate in new endeavors. Yet, in spite of everything, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was absent. Or rather, there was an absence felt. Whenever things went smoothly, she found herself thinking, Nicholas would appreciate this. Whenever she encountered something amusing, a thought crossed her mind, I wish I could share this with him. She refrained from sending him any messages. He also didn't send any. Yet each day, she found herself glancing at her phone, yearning for a notification. On the final day of the journey, Emily reached out to her via video call. I must provide you with an update. What transpired? Nicholas has adopted an even more solemn demeanor. He exhibits a strong concentration and tends to be more reserved. That's on you. I recently took a week to work at a different place. Precisely. It seems as though everyone in the company has taken notice. Emily, what is it? What if I return and everything remains the same? Then you handle it. However, you can take comfort in knowing that you made an effort. Alice ended the call and gazed out the hotel window. The city exuded beauty, yet it seemed distant from all that truly mattered. The next Monday, she made her way back to the office. She entered the building with measured strides, though her heart raced within her chest. The elevator seemed to crawl at a pace that felt unusually sluggish. Upon arriving at her floor, she was welcomed with warm embraces, cheerful smiles, and a sprinkle of humor. One colleague remarked that the company felt far too silent in your absence. I wasn't aware that I was being so loud. The sound was pleasantly vibrant. Upon arriving at her desk, she noticed an envelope waiting for her. It was a message. Your absence was felt. She grasped the paper for a brief moment. She took her time to fold it neatly before placing it in its designated spot. An impulse surged within her to dash directly to Nicholas's office. Yet she chose not to. Instead, she positioned herself at her computer and inhaled deeply. Alice attempted to concentrate, arranging information for the upcoming campaign, when an unexpected detail on the company calendar drew her attention. Meeting for alignment. Innovative group and leader. Participants. Alice Park. Her brow furrowed in discontent. A meeting with the CEO on an ordinary Tuesday, without any advance warning, was quite unusual. Particularly one that appeared to concern solely her. She rose from her seat and made her way to the meeting room, the setting for the upcoming discussion. As she walked in, Nicholas was already seated at the table, 2 cups of coffee in front of him. Greetings, Alice, he remarked with a serene smile. Please take a moment to sit down. She settled into her seat, feeling a touch of apprehension. This feels different from a typical meeting. It simply isn't. I simply wanted to have a conversation. She remained quiet, anticipating. I pondered extensively on how to invite you here without creating an uncomfortable atmosphere. However, it dawned on me that we've faced much more humiliating scenarios than just a straightforward request for conversation. I concur, particularly when considering lipsticks, bras, and car windows. They shared a hearty laugh. It was amusing how the passage of time seemed to lighten everything. The reality is, Alice, I hold you in high regard. It's not only about the actions you take, but also about the manner in which you execute them. Your thought process, your approach to challenges, your ability to transform uncertainty into understanding. And I must confess, as time has passed, this has begun to resonate on a more personal level. She gazed into his eyes. His voice carried no doubt, only genuine sincerity. Nicholas went on, revealing that he wasn't one to share his thoughts readily. Yet, with you, it felt unique. It dawned on me that perhaps it's time to cease the endless cycle of overthinking. Alice inhaled deeply. She realized it was essential for her to contribute as well. I dedicated considerable effort to persuading myself that everything happening was merely a facet of my professional life. It was preferable to act as if nothing was occurring. I felt nothing at all. Yet, beneath the surface, I was aware. And if I remained silent for a time, it was merely out of fear. Nicholas offered a slight nod, suggesting he grasped the situation. What is there to fear? That it was merely a figment of my imagination. I was confusing attention with genuine interest, and compliments with true affection. However, I have gained a deeper understanding now. She rested her hands on the table, an unassuming act, devoid of theatrics. I felt the same way about you, Nicholas. The quiet that lingered between them felt perfectly at ease. It was rich with significance. He leaned back, arms crossed on the table, and asked, "What's our next move?" "Indeed, you excel at crafting strategies. What are your recommendations?" "That we proceed with caution, yet remain honest about the unfolding events." Alice beamed with delight. "That seems reasonable. Perhaps we could enjoy a dinner together. Not in a professional capacity. Not in a hierarchical relationship. Like two grown individuals navigating the complexities of their emotions. As long as it's not at one of those establishments where the menu lacks prices." I committed to choosing a restaurant with clear pricing. Alice chuckled softly. "Currently, there are no elevators available." "Agreed." Just before she exited the room, Nicholas presented her with a small box. Alice opened it, anticipating a formal response. Inside, there was a keychain shaped like a mirror, featuring an engraved phrase that read, "Warning, may contain lettuce and feelings." She burst into laughter before she could even complete the reading. "Is this genuine?" "Indeed, it is. Tailored specifically. You truly extended the humor to its fullest potential. I like to view it as a form of expression." Alice tucked the keychain into her bag, her face lighting up with a broad smile. "May I express a thought?" "Absolutely. This is the most endearing and charming thing I've ever received." Nicholas offered a slight, contented bow. "My task has been accomplished." Alice rose to her feet. "What comes next?" "It's time for you to return to your tasks." "I feel the same way. I'll send you an address later. Can you assure me it won't have a French name?" Statement from the CEO. Alice exited the room with a sense of buoyancy. There was neither a kiss nor a public declaration. Yet, there was something even more remarkable. Truth existed. The ensuing months were far from what Alice had envisioned a relationship to entail. She and Nicholas proceeded at a leisurely pace. A meal at this place. A stroll in that direction. Nothing remarkable at the outset. Perhaps that's what contributed to its excellence. In the workplace, they maintained a level of professionalism. Yet, one could hardly overlook the exchanged glances filled with understanding, the subtle smiles, and the carefully orchestrated messages that arrived at just the right moment. Alice would chuckle quietly whenever she discovered notes affixed to her computer screen, bearing reminders like, "Meeting at 11 a.m. Deliver warmth and joy." Or contingency plan. Sharing a meal together. Come ready to indulge and impress. Emily, naturally, was aware of it all. Yet, she honored their boundaries. Occasionally, she would respond with a subtle smile that spoke volumes. You both conceal it skillfully. However, it could be better. Alice sensed that everything in her life was finally aligning perfectly. All uncertainties have vanished. Fear has no place here. She felt a sense of safety. And cherished. Nicholas, in contrast, appeared more buoyant. He continued to apply the same unwavering commitment as ever. Yet now, a new glimmer danced in his gaze. A unique tranquility that only those who have discovered their true desires can experience. The weekends transformed into a time solely for their enjoyment. A trip to the museum awaits. A stroll through the park awaits. An unfortunate culinary endeavor in the kitchen. They would chuckle at their blunders and rejoice in their little triumphs. Like skillfully assembling a complete piece of furniture while maintaining their composure. Alice found out that Nicholas had the skill to whip up pancakes. And that he had a fondness for poorly made sci-fi films. Nicholas stumbled upon the delightful fact that Alice had a penchant for collecting mugs adorned with humorous quotes. She would often engage in quiet conversations with herself during moments of anxiety. One day, as I observed the couple strolling hand in hand through the park, an elderly man approached and remarked, "When love is simple, it lasts longer." They simply smiled, for that was precisely how they felt. Uncomplicated affection, yet rich in significance. Several months passed, and Nicholas extended an invitation to Alice for a weekend getaway. He mentioned he required some time to unplug for a while, and discovered a tranquil haven. Alice consented, believing it to be merely a brief excursion. She packed her most comfortable clothes, blissfully unaware of the surprises that lay ahead. They reached a delightful wooden cabin, nestled among the trees and gazing out over a serene lake. All was serene, still. Time appeared to drag on in that place. On the second day, Nicholas proposed a boat ride. Alice, unfamiliar with the experience of being on a boat, felt a moment of uncertainty. Yet, she consented. Amidst the shimmering expanse of the lake, where the sun cast a golden hue upon the water, Nicholas paused his rowing. "It's absolutely stunning," she remarked, her gaze sweeping the surroundings. He responded, his hand slipping into his pocket as he awaited the perfect moment to act. Alice glanced at him and noticed a tiny blue velvet box. "Nicholas, I kept my remarks brief because I believe you're already familiar with everything I wish to express. Your presence inspires admiration, commands respect, and evokes deep affection. Beyond what I ever imagined possible to feel for another. Your influence transformed everything. You showed me how to find humor in my missteps. To lighten up a bit. To have faith that an uncomplicated existence can still be remarkable." He lifted the lid of the box. A modest ring, yet it holds just the right amount of brilliance to evoke tears of joy in her eyes. "Alice Park, would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" She placed her hand over her mouth. Chuckled, then wept. "Absolutely. Absolutely. Indeed." He gently placed the ring upon her finger. In the heart of the lake, where silence enveloped the world, they embraced one another. No fanfare. Without an audience. Simply a yes. And that was all there was to it. 3 months later, the wedding unfolded. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the tranquil beach. Alice donned a flowing dress, her hair dancing in the breeze, and an uncontainable smile graced her face. Nicholas donned a white shirt, appearing serene on the surface, yet his eyes revealed a depth of emotion like never before. Emily was present, naturally, and tears streamed down her face before the ceremony had even begun. A gathering of close friends, co-workers, and family took place for a heartfelt ceremony, rich in significance. As Alice approached Nicholas, her mind was free from thoughts of stumbling, the breeze tousling her hair, or the gazes of those around her. As she walked, her mind was consumed with the realization that she was stepping closer to the love she had always envisioned, despite her lingering doubts about deserving it. Nicholas grasped her hands with a steady grip. "Today, I vow to bring you joy, even when the days are tough," he said, his voice quivering. "And I vow never to adjust my bra in a car window again," she said, eliciting laughter from everyone. They shared vows, slipped on rings, and sealed their commitment with a kiss, marking not only their love but also the path that had led them to this moment. The atmosphere was cheerful, brimming with melodies, movement, and shared laughter. Nicholas removed his shoes immediately upon arrival. Alice was gifted a new mug that bore the inscription, "The Lady of the Mirror and the Lettuce." They hurried to the ocean and let the waves kiss their feet, for that was their way of embracing life, with a sense of buoyancy and a hint of thrill. Several months passed, and Alice orchestrated a delightful surprise. She sat patiently, anticipating Nicholas's return from work. She felt a flutter of anxiety, her palms clammy, gripping a modest parcel. "I have a little surprise for you," she said, extending her hand toward him. He opened it, filled with curiosity. It was a simple T-shirt. On the front, the phrases, "Father and Development." Nicholas fell into silence. He gazed at her, his eyes brimming with tears. Indeed, Alice nodded, her own eyes glistening with tears. After 2 months, he enveloped her in a warm embrace, chuckled, and then let tears flow. Then chuckled once more. Are you serious right now? I am not. A faint pulse can be felt in this space. Partly mine, partly yours. This is. He attempted to utter a word, yet found himself unable to do so. He pressed his lips gently to her forehead, then to her subtly rounded belly. This is the most incredible gift I've ever received. Superior to pancakes. Significantly improved. They remained in that embrace, savoring the warmth of their connection. What are your thoughts on the tale of Alice and Nicholas? Share your reflections in the comments section. Please provide a rating for the story on a scale from 0 to 10. What's your rating? Join us by subscribing to the channel and activating notifications to stay updated on all our narratives. Be sure to explore additional heartfelt narratives by clicking here on the final screen.